Plan Commission meeting of May 9th, 2023 to order. Roll call, please.
Anna here.
Curlow here. Kupczynski here.
Gavich here.
Kuzikowski here.
Oldani here.
Seifert here.
Chandler here.
Item 3, approval of minutes of April 25th, 2023. Everybody please take a look. And if there's no discussion, questions, errors, or omissions, motion please.
Seifert moves to approve the minutes of April 25th, 2023.
Kuzikowski will second.
Roll call, beginning with Christine.
Curlow, aye.
Kupczynski, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Oldani abstains.
Oh,
Seifert, aye.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Chandler, aye.
I'm sorry, I have to abstain. I was not here at the 25th meeting. Of course, I have it. Okay, item 4. You know what? Before we go any farther, we do have a new face in planning. So, Doug, would you do the introduction, please?
Sorry. Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. Like you to, and I think you've probably seen Sylvia here on a previous occasion, but I don't know if you've been formally introduced. This is Sylvia Bruckert. Sylvia is our zoning administrator and planner. Takes over for for Jack. She's been with us for about a month, right? And we're happy to have her. You'll be seeing a lot more of her. She'll be focusing a lot of her attention on the zoning administration, doing a lot of maybe the signs. You might see some variance reports coming from her and the things that are really having to do with parks. So we're very happy to have Sylvia, and I think she'll be a great addition to the Oak Creek team.
Great, thank you, Sylvia. Any words, anything you want to say?
Nothing for me. Good to meet everyone.
Okay, with that, we will just move on then to review and discuss a report on the recent Common Council actions. Doug, please.
Yeah, lots going on at the last meeting. The mayor, I think it was the mayor, made his appointments for the Plan Commission. They stayed the same. Alderman Guzikowski, thank you, and Alderman Lorick are going to be continuing to serve as the Plan Commission representatives from the Common Council. They also approved a conditional use permit for an outdoor recreation facility in conjunction with the daycare center at 150 West Ryan Road. They approved a PUD on the properties at 9102 through 9140 South 27th Street. They approved an amendment to the time of compliance for the PUD for the Hayday development at 2231 West Buttes Road. Approved a CSM for the properties at 7101 and 7115 South Pennsylvania Avenue. Also approved a CSM for the properties at 8801 South Charmaine Circle and 3381 East Carroll Court. Also approved a lot of CSMs that night. Approved a CSM for the property at 1402 West Hampstead Lane, part of the Highgate development. And they also approved an amendment to the engineering contract and design contract for the Abendschein Park Pavilion. This is just, if you're aware, this is the pavilion / beer garden that we bid out. It came in quite a bit over budget. So those bids were rejected. We're going to a redesign of that in the hopes that we can get it to a more manageable budget number. So that was approved, and we'll be working on that over the next couple of months. Are there any questions about those actions?
Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Doug. Next, we'll go on to review and discuss a report on the Board of Housing and Zoning Appeals actions. And we did have one, so Sylvia, you want to take that one away?
Yeah, so at the Board of Housing and Zoning Appeals meeting on May 1st, the board approved a variance for the construction of a detached deck that is 250 square feet, which exceeded the 200 square feet that could be approved by the community development director. And as I said, the board granted that variance at 9491 South Arbor Creek Drive.
Questions, anything concerning the variance? Okay. I right group. Okay, now we'll just move on, and item 5, we'll review and discuss on the recent review and discuss the recent quarterly Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. We're gonna get that July the 11th. So that'll move us right to old business, and that's a review of site and building and related plans by Driven Brands for accessory structures, trash enclosures, and a ground mechanical enclosure at 6900 South 27th Street. Sylvia or Doug? Who's taking this one? Sylvia, you got the mic?
This one we are still waiting on updated
Oh,
materials
this
for
is
the
the hold.
applicant, so this is a hold.
I was informed of that. Thank you for the reminder. So the applicant did request to be held. So the only action we need is to hold it. They're not quite ready. So if we could have a motion to hold that, please.
Guzekowski makes a motion that this item be, review site building plans related, to be held for this, until 5/23.
To a date to be determined. I don't know if they'll be ready on the 23rd, Sylvia.
I don't know for sure, so.
Let's call
To
it
be
date to
safe,
be
we could say.
determined.
Yeah, date to be determined.
Okay.
Seifert seconds.
Thanks, Fred. Roll call beginning with Dawn.
Furlow, I.
Shinsky, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Hold on, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, I.
Okay, that'll get us to new business. That's a project plan and concept adoption. Review the final project plan and concepts for the North Bluff Planning Study. Take it away, Sylvia.
Thank you. So in the packet, you had the full plan to review. I'm just going to do kind of a quick overview of some of the highlights from that plan. As a reminder, Edgewater Resources, the consultant who led that planning effort, they started working on the project in June of 2022. In August, they did their public input and design charrette, and then through the fall and the winter, they worked on plan development. The priorities for the plan that they considered throughout the process were connectivity from the North Bluff to Bender Park and Lake Vista Park, accessibility, making sure everyone, regardless of physical ability, is able to enjoy the space, and maintenance and cost. So designing the space in a cost-effective and maintenance-effective way. So here we have the consensus plan from the study. This is kind of an overview. I'll point out a couple of the elements, and then the upcoming slides have more details as well on certain cross sections. But you can see here going into the lake, an elliptical pier. There are walking paths along the bluff that would take you down close to the shore. There's a pedestrian bridge crossing the ravine that would provide a connection to Lake Vista Park. There's a smaller parking and drop-off area closer to the lakefront, as well as a much larger overflow parking lot to the west of the site. And then this cross-section A is showing where the elliptical pier comes in at the waterfront, as well as the trail connections and revetment walking paths that get you down to that area. This also shows that parking and drop-off area, as I mentioned. This cross-section shows a bit further north on the site, shows some naturalized prairie planting for the landscaping, and then a combination of ADA compliant multi-use path, as well as a sport trail that would be unpaved. And then cross-section C is back towards where the elliptical pier is coming in, and it also shows where there would be a natural play area with a slide along the embankment as well. These photos show some kind of design precedent ideas that kind of give an idea of what the space might look like. And then they also provided a plan for phasing. So just to go over this quickly, phase 0 and 1 would be mainly bluff stabilization and grading to create the grading for those paths. At first, they would be unpaved but usable. Eventually, in later phases, those would be paved. Phase 2 kind of adds in more of a formal entrance, develops gardens and play areas, and focuses on the top of the bluff path. And then in phase 3, we get some of those bigger ticket items. That's where we have the pedestrian bridge to Lake Vista Park, some park shelters in this phase as well, and then the elliptical pier. And then the final phase 6 is the overflow parking along with environmental remediation on that site. I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have. And with that, I have a suggested motion for the commission as well.
Great, thank you, Sylvia. We'll open it up. Christine, you want to start?
Yes, actually, I have a couple of questions. What was the type of coordination with the DNR regarding the delineation? Any concern that they had with that idea, I guess?
The coordination with the DNR was early and often, and they really formed the basis for Edgewater's design for the revetment project, which is currently under bid. Well, it's been awarded already, and it will take place, construction starting this year. So all of that was designed, again, with the stabilization of the bluff and to contain and remediate the environmental conditions at that bluff. So they've been with us every step of the way.
So they had no concerns with any delineation that has been taking place, or?
Oh, they are very much in support of this plan.
Okay, good. How about the hazmat? Is there any hazmat contamination, anything from that sort?
I wouldn't characterize that type of contamination as hazardous materials. I mean, certainly there's some things they don't want exposed to the further erosion and getting out in the lake, but it's manageable from the perspective of there's a design for containing it and cutting back that slope so it can be actually pushing that slope out into the lake through the revetment so that it won't become an issue, and that, you never say never, but I mean that the erosion problem will be addressed for hopefully many decades to come.
As long as it being recognized that there are some contaminated soil. And, okay. So the last question is the funding. I'm seeing here on the second page, $36 million. What's funding that project? Is it state, federal? What is that? Where is it coming from?
Well, a word about funding, and it's within the purview of the Common Council, but it's obviously a great question and one that we as citizens of the community have to certainly be aware of. The bulk of the project actually is being paid for by the city, and the city actually stepped up and recognized its obligation to maintain a safe environment along its lake shore, and as owner of the property, the bulk of the money, and there are grants involved from the sewage district and I think from the state as well, but to be totally honest, the bulk of it's the city of Oak Creek, and that's being handled through a tax and criminal financing district that includes that entire lakefront.
Has there been any public information meeting getting the public feedback in support of that plan?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as part of the park planning process, certainly there has been. The revetment project, not so much probably on the front end, but I will say that in 2 weeks' time, there's a public information meeting that'll be held to let people know about what they can expect to see happening over the next 2 years there with the revetment project and the remediation there. So I mean, there have been ample opportunities for the public to address themselves through both the park planning process as well as the upcoming public information.
I don't know if you have that or not. It's just my last comment, or I guess recommendation. If you don't have like a website, maybe like if people cannot attend the meeting, maybe they can go ahead and see the typical section that was shared, or maybe add comments here and there. So at least the entire public or City of Oak Creek residents are able to see. Just a
Absolutely.
suggestion.
Those are things that we love to do. Unfortunately, we haven't had the resources to really dive deep into that, but hopefully now we will you'll be able to do a little bit more of that. And you're right, because it's a great story to tell, and we should be very proud of what's happening down on the lakefront. And we should be able to share that with not only our residents, but everyone throughout the region.
It'll actually be an adopted.
Yeah, I'm guess with 36 million, you can figure something out. All right, thank you.
On.
I was just going to ask, how long is it going to take? What are the phases? But you mentioned 2 years.
Well, that's for the revetment project. Remember, the revetment project builds the base for those park phases. So starting in year 3, you'll really start to see the park amenities come online.
Ashley.
No questions. Thank you.
Chris.
No questions. I've seen this already.
Don.
No questions, thank you.
Fred.
Yeah, I just have a question about the DNR. Have we got a blessing from those people yet?
Absolutely. Yep.
We do have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Jossie.
It looks good. No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Just kind of make a comment. I mean, this really went through an arduous process through parks, public input. If you remember, there were glass elevators down there, the whole thing. Actually, really glad. I mean, Lake Michigan's one of our greatest natural resources, and we kept this natural, very much so. And the trails down there will be walkable, bikeable, all that stuff. It'll be accessible, but yet nature will still be down there, and it's most essential form. I mean, there's going to be prairie grass down there, and parks with prairie garden flowers and the whole deal. So I think this was a really well done plan, and really it's accomplishing what we need done the most, and that's really to stabilize that bluff. So as Doug said, the first few years of features going in is number one, to do it at the lower end and stabilize that bluff and protect that bluff from further erosion. I'm excited to see the rocks that go in there. I think it's going to be a unique structure. It's going to be a great addition to the Oak Creek Park system and the South Shore on the whole. So I'm excited. Nice plan. Congratulations to staff. And again, they had to work hand in hand with the DNR on this. So as well as every other agency that was involved at the lake too. So with that, we're going to look for a motion if there's no further discussion.
Guzikowski will make a motion to Plan Commission adopts the North Bluffs Planning Study.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call. Starting with Ashley.
Shinsky, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Hold on, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye. And aye.
Grillo, aye.
Okay. Then moving on, item B, temporary sign. Review a request submitted by Dawn Carrillo, our farmer's market manager, for a temporary sign to be displayed for no more than 30 days at 361 West Town Square Way. So, Doug, you got this one?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, staff under the new zoning code, I shouldn't say new anymore, it's under the zoning code, has the ability to approve temporary signs for a certain duration. And there are occasions where events span more than two weeks or 3 weeks, and the farmer's market is one of those. And for that duration of time, those decisions are reserved for the Plan Commission. So the plan before this evening is for a temporary sign be displayed in excess of 30 days for the Oak Creek Farmers Market. That's at the town square. The map will show you exactly where that is in relationship to the square, just in the northwest corner of the square. Also show you kind of what the sign will look like, and how it's roughly about a 8 by 6 sign in totality. And rather than me trying to describe it, I'm going to let the farmer's market manager.
It's a little strange standing on this side, you guys. What we've had in the past,
I'll need your name and address, please.
Dawn Carrillo, 7969 South Main Street. What we've had in the past is a banner out there for the entire duration, and with some snow fence poles, and it would blow around and get loose every so often, and it just didn't look great. And so the city asked me to design something that would be like semi-permanent, that would look stronger, with some poles. And then I designed also for the bottom to have a small, like coroplast, like a plastic sign that could change out when other stuff is happening at the square. And so a couple times throughout the season, it'll change, that bottom one will change. But otherwise, I created the one with the flowers, and that's what it would look like. And it would be tucked in the beds so they don't have to cut the grass around it. And it's just kind of a updated banner, so to speak. Look a little more professional in our town square.
Hold on.
Questions, comments, Christine? Everybody's kind of giggling. It's an odd circumstance, but our commissioner actually is the applicant.
I was gonna tell her no, but it's okay.
Ashley?
No questions.
Chris?
No, no
Don?
question.
No questions.
Yeah, I have a question. We couldn't leave you standing.
I know, thank you.
Do we need any information or sign out on Drexel to help people to get in, or that it's being?
I don't think so. Right now, what I do is I put out about 15 small H-stake signs when the farmer's market starts, and then I pick them back up. So they're out there for 4 hours, and they say, farmer's market today.
Thank you.
Jocelyn?
I do have one question. I don't know if it's for Sylvia or Don. In our notes, it identifies that the height of this is a little more than 6 feet. I just wanted to get a better understanding of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it shows the dimensions are 94, so that's what, 8 feet and change, right?
But then it'll be buried.
But not all that'll be, I mean, you remember some of that support does go into the ground, so I don't,
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
It looked like the majority was in the ground, so the sign is the post plus the sign?
Probably be 5 foot at best. Well, yeah, probably.
94 inch, it looks like 94 is the total
Right.
post going in, and then 48 inches for the sign height.
well, the height of the sign itself is 4 feet.
Right, so
Now,
I'm thinking.
how much exposed area there'll be with the posts, I couldn't tell you.
I don't
right?
think you'll exceed 6 foot.
No, and we've hired an outside firm, Sinorama. It's a new business in Oak Creek. They'll come in. We've already called, hoping that you guys approved it. We've already called Diggers Hotline, and so they'll probably be ready to go this week.
So am I understanding it correctly? So it would be less than 6 feet, that 48 inches or 4 feet?
I think it'd be 48 inches plus the extra pole
Oh, okay.
that they don't bury.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing but a comment. As town squares evolved, we're finding where our needs are, and I think Dawn summed it up best. We kind of been doing it with canvas banners and snow fencing posts, and it's just an evolvement until maybe one day we'll have something permanent there. We don't know at this point in time, but this is a good alternative, and you can flip out things from dog days to farmers markets to you name it, whatever it is. Sponsors. All good. Any other questions?
Looks good.
All right. Motion then, please, on B.
Guzekowski makes a motion that the Plan Commission approves a temporary sign permit request submitted by Don Carrillo, Oak Creek Farmers Market, for the property located at 361 West Town Square Way, with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code and DTS PDD requirements remain in effect. 2, that 1 72-inch by 48-inch 24 square foot sign base by 94 inches temporary sign with 1.5 by 6 attached hanging sign is approved in the location shown on the approved site plan. Sign shall be installed at a minimum of 10 feet from the property line and rights of way. That the temporary sign permit shall be valid through October 21st, 2023. The sign is removed by October 28th, 2023.
Hold seconds.
Okay, roll call, I will begin. Bekavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Hold aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Hannah, I.
Grillo abstains.
Chinsky, aye.
Okay. On to item C. That is a rezone of a conditional use permit. We're going to review a request by Matthew Mingring, Anderson Ashton to rezone the property at 6340 South Howell and 239 East College to M1 Manufacturing with conditional use for heavy manufacturing and equipment sales and rental. Doug?
Thank you. Plan commissioners will note that a similar request was reviewed back in March, and that the change being that the rezoning and conditional use permit for consideration this evening is limited only to the corner properties, whereas the earlier application contained several other adjacent properties that wrapped around this and further south along Howell Avenue. The corner lot actually was approved as the consolidation by CSM by the Common Council at their April meeting. The client, Anderson Ashton, is looking to develop this property on behalf of American Industrial Motor Service, or AIMS, as you'll be heard them refer to. And they're looking to move their current operations from Milwaukee to this site in a roughly 80,000 square foot industrial building. It includes electrical apparatus repair, repair of motor repairs and parts for electrical motor systems, as well as bringing the sister company, Pinnacle Engineering. Initially, they will have 23 employees on site. It would have up to 60 anticipated employees once they consolidate the offices with Pinnacle. The hours of operation are typical of manufacturing properties with occasional extended weekend hours, and the deliveries are minimal compared to comparable industrial properties. So while the equipment being worked on certainly is often large and heavy, the methods that they use to clean and repair that equipment really are not that dissimilar to those types of processes which are utilized in more traditional manufacturing settings that you can find elsewhere throughout the city, certainly within North Branch Industrial Park and the M1 zoning district. I mean, like many of their industrial counterparts, this facility will utilize paints, gases, oils, and similar materials as part of the regulations. And with respect to the fire department, these are very similar, very common materials that they plan for as part of their pre-planning and in their review of the suppression systems that would be in place for this or any other industrial building. No outdoor storage aside from the usual trash enclosures and vehicle parking would be associated with this business. They would have occasional but not regular sales of equipment. And I want to explain that a little bit more, and I'm sure that Matt will as well. And the equipment they work on is big. And they do store that equipment on behalf of their clients. And occasionally, and not very often as I'm told, that there will be a transaction involving one of those pieces of equipment. This is not a situation where you are driving down the street and I want to buy this really big electrical motor. I mean, this is something, it's B2B. It's just very much driven by the network they have with their existing clients and the people that store their equipment with them. Access to the site has not changed from the earlier concept plan that you saw as part of the initial rezoning concept. It's coming off of College Avenue. Again, that will require review and approval by Milwaukee County as it is their facility. The minimum parking stalls are calculated based on 1 per 1,500 square feet. Equates to 53 total parking stalls. And while this is not really a review of site and building plans, we feel very comfortable that we can accommodate the needs for parking on site. And I will note, just as a side note, staff did have, and some of the elected officials did have an opportunity to tour their existing locations, just get a feel for what their operations were. And it really confirmed a lot of things that we said, we're putting forth in the staff report that, I mean, the processes really are pretty typical from perspective of, you know, what you see. Oh,
Carry on.
very, uh, uh, and certainly if you have any questions, I would encourage you to ask those. I think we've got not only Madison Ashton, but I think Representatives from Ames with us to answer any questions you have about those processes. So we still wanted to make sure that we did have the appropriate regulation in place for this. That's why we are still proceeding with the conditional use permit for heavy manufacturing, and also the conditional use permit that allows them to do those, again, rare but occasional sales of that type of equipment. Most importantly, the requested M1 zoning does substantially conform to the adopted comprehensive plan, which identifies this and the other properties as business park. And staff therefore has no objections to the proposal as presented. All proposed operations will be conducted interior to the building, and any minor concerns that are raised here or throughout the process, we certainly feel comfortable addressing at the site plan level. Again, you're not approving a site plan, you're not approving building plans tonight. You're making a recommendation with respect to the zoning and conditional use permit, but it's important that you get a feel for what this building is and maybe for what this building is not. So with that in mind, we do have a series of perspectives that were provided to us to show you what that look like. This is roughly from looking south and east from the corner of Howell and College. This is looking northeast from Howell Avenue, kind of catching the Howell elevation as well as the rear elevation, which you'll see is proposed to be substantially screened. The back of the building, south elevation, and kind of the looking south and west from College Avenue. With that in mind, we do have a suggested motion for the Planning Commission's consideration, and I would certainly offer that we have the applicant with us to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Doug. At this time, if the applicant would like to say something prior to going to commission, please come on up and identify yourself.
Good evening, Eric Newman, 3316 West Links Drive, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. I'm here to answer questions that Plan Commission or the neighbors might have about the project. I think Doug's presented it well, saying that we are here only for that corner parcel, where the last time we were here was the whole thing combined, which I think caused some confusion. With that, I can address comments as they come in and go over any other highlights that you might have questions on regarding other things that are happening on the site for approvals and other concerns that were raised at the last meeting.
Thank you. You want to start, Christine? Go ahead.
Sure. Doug, can you bring back the plan sheet or the overview of the site? So I don't know if we just looking at the zoning or we can just ask questions regarding the entrance or the access.
Zoning.
Just the zoning.
It is
part.
zoning, but I mean, I don't want that to limit you.
No.
I mean, if asking questions about the site will help you better understand the nature of the business, I would certainly
Yes.
encourage you to do that.
Yeah. Keep in mind, it's preliminary.
I know, and that's what I'm just going to ask the question is if it has been looked at. So the entrance from College turning left into the access of the building, I don't see an access or a left turn specifically for that driveway. Is this going to be a problem, especially if you have large trucking and large vehicles entering that building? Have you coordinated with a city to make sure that this is working? And if not, that would be a good recommendation for you.
Yes, thank you for the question, and we have, we've been in touch with the county and the DOT regarding that access point, which is the recommended access point. It has the right distances away from the intersection. What is not on the plan and will be, if this passes tonight on the next group, would be all the XL, decel lanes and any of the improvements to College Avenue that would have to happen.
Correct. And maybe adding a left turn lane to that median like I see here. So there is no delays, especially if you have 23 employees. I see here, yes, you have 23 employees. So if all want to come in the same time, they don't want to delays that people going through on college. Pretty much that's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dawn?
I was not here when you were here last, but as far as I'm concerned, I have no questions at this point.
Ashley?
Nothing from engineering.
Chris?
Nothing for me either. I support this.
All right, Dawn? Dawn. Don?
No, when you were here last,
Fred, you're up.
I have a question about this equipment that you're bringing in for repair and fixing. Is that always going to be inside, or are you going to store some of that outside prior to repairing it? Or
No, all of the equipment will be brought in crates because it's large, and will be brought into the building and unloaded inside the building because it's so heavy that we actually have a 50-ton, actually, take that back, a 75-ton crane in the building to lift it off the truck. So it would be physically impossible to lift it off in the parking lot. And it'd just be too much of a hassle. Plus, we have an interior loading dock that is inside the building, so if a truck pulls in, we can actually close the door to take it off and disassemble it. And we have planned a drive-through of the building to position the truck in the better spot if needed.
what about storing the empty crates that you bring this equipment in? Is that going to be?
The floor plan that we would bring to the next meeting would show the assembly areas, on the floor plan, as well as the storage areas, because they do have to store equipment. Because it's like repairing a windmill. If you think about it, you set up a huge crane, you spend all this money to take the motor down from a windmill. You better have one to put right back up again. Otherwise, you're going to spend just the same amount on putting the crane up. So they'll inventory people's motors, and then when they bring in the old one for repair, they'll ship out the new one. So everything's inside the building.
Aye. Thank you. That's it.
Chauncey?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. I don't have any either. Again, I've had the advantage of being in facilities similar, not your facility, but similar facilities, so I understand what the apparatus is and what you're working on. It gives the illusion of heavy manufacturing. It's heavy equipment is what they're moving. I think Doug explained it well, so I have no questions at all regarding this. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, questions? Motion. Oh, come on up, sir. Yeah, before we do the motion, come on up. We're not in a public hearing, but you're welcome. Pull the microphone now, please.
Christopher Jazeski, 143 West College Avenue. Most people say not in my backyard. I'm saying not in my front yard. My mom and dad are buried in a cemetery right here. I want to quote a small section. Scientific American, April 2023. Use nature as infrastructure. The concept of natural capital, or the idea that ecosystem services should be valued in a similar manner as any form of wealth, dates back to the 70s at least. Okay. We're talking about here is a strategy of leverage buyout. Investors use a similar tactic for house flipping. Ames fits the profile of a target company being groomed for a next round of leveraged buyouts, which will reap huge profits for the brokers and a potentially fatal cost to Ames. Cities like Oak Creek are being targeted because new construction is eligible for new federal manufacturing subsidies. The main role of Oak Creek city planners in this case, is to put a stamp of approval on this financial harvesting of naive municipalities. The final cost will be of dealing with one or more oversized abandoned buildings and their associated groundwater pollution when Ames ultimately joins Rexnord, which is a parent company, in Mexico. Not in our yard. The land itself. I grew up here watching Cudahy's Woods. I had to save it once. Well, not only. A bunch of people had to save Cudahy's Woods from developers who want to put a trucking company in there. Can't you think about the structure of the land itself? We need the open space. We want to look at green grass. We don't want to look at factory buildings. And that's what you're saying to the public. Please think about it. We don't need more business. We need more land space, more open green space for people. Your children don't want to see factories. They want to see the trees and the birds that used to be there, that could be there if you leave the land alone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Before we motion, any further discussion, comment? Okay, we'll look for ultimate motion on C.
Oldani moves that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the property at 239 East College Avenue be rezoned to M1 manufacturing with a conditional use permit for heavy manufacturing and equipment sales and rental on portions of the properties at 6340 South Howell Avenue and 239 East College Avenue after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the Plan Commission's review at the next meeting, May 23rd, 2023.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call, beginning with Chris.
Guzekowski, aye.
Oldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
And I.
Grillo, aye.
Shinsky, aye.
Gavich, aye. And that's going to lead us to adjournment. So, but before we adjourn, just a couple things. National Nurses Week. So we do have nurses right here in our health department. Hats off to them. Hope they enjoy their time in the spotlight. And it shouldn't just be a week. It should be Nurses Week all the time because they're some of the most valuable people we have here at City Hall. So appreciate that. And also we're entering second week at Farmers Market. Dawn?
Correct. Second out of 24, so we got a long way to go. But rain, I think I saw it snow on Saturday, so hoping that we have a better week this week.
So if you have the time, get out there. There are things to buy. There are baked goods and other things, but produce is coming sooner or later. So, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, motion for adjournment?
Grillo moves to adjourn at 6:42.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call beginning with Don.
Oldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
And I.
Grillo, aye.
Shinsky, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
All right. Thank you all.